got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P.
All right, so today we are here in studio with Chris Marroquin, who is the rehab specialist. Did I get that right?
Director
of rehab for the. We just talked about it, and I already messed it up. For the Ravens, you may have heard of them. They're an NFL team based out of Baltimore here, and are having quite the season. You're probably doing a lot of work.
Yeah, we're busy. We're in the thick of things right now. So we just got back from Kansas City last night, and so. Yeah, we're busy, but hopefully we turn things around.
Couple injuries last night?
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, so you'll have some people to be working with?
Yeah, we're always busy at this time of the year. So
it's kind of crazy. So I kind of stick to a pretty regular path running in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And so I see this guy most days, and you start to recognize people that you see on a regular basis. And so I'm watching. I did that. Have you ever seen that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio where he's pointing at the TV?
Yeah, everyone's that's him.
I'm like, oh my God, that's that dude I see every morning running out onto the field. Somebody got hurt. You're running out there with that little cart that's got the stretcher on it and pulling someone. I was like, that's the dude that runs. So of course, we're in the morning, it's dark out or whatever, and I kind of pull up on you and say, hey, I want to get you on the podcast. That was like over a year ago.
Yeah, that was. I think actually after our last game 2 seasons ago, and like you said, you kind of just came up on me. I was like, "Who's this guy?" In Baltimore, always aware of your surroundings. So, no, I had a great conversation with you. And
to be fair, it's pretty safe on that.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So I see you out there, and then that's the one thing. It's like I respect the work ethic. Like you're out there, like I know you're out there because I'm out there 6 days a week pretty much, and I see you quite frequently. So I know that you're pretty serious about running. So obviously, with your job, you're doing a lot of physical stuff. But why running? Why are you spending so much time out there?
Yeah, well, I think, first off, running for me is very new, relatively speaking, in my life. I wasn't always a runner. I wasn't a, high school cross country runner, track and field athlete. I think a lot of runners transition from that aspect of life to running as they get older. Running to me is very new. I didn't start running until COVID. And the reason was because all the gyms were closed, and so
you're a COVID kid.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, let me give running a try, and I started running consistently. And honestly, the reason I started running is I read a book called "Living with a SEAL," where a guy hired a former Navy SEAL to live with him for a month straight and just train him every single day. And so the base of that training was they ran 6 miles every single day, and they would do some sort of form of like push-ups, pull-ups, or things like that. And this former Navy SEAL ended up being David Goggins. So I read that book. COVID just started, and all the gyms were closed. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can do that. Run 6 miles a day. And so I just went out there and was like, let me try it. Ran 6 miles that first day, and
out the gate you ran 6?
Yeah, I probably stopped like 15 times during that run. And I'd have to go back and look at the pace.
From 0 to 6 is it's not an easy one.
Right.
Now, did you also read like Can't Hurt Me and all that stuff?
I've read all those classics and Born to Run and all those.
Yeah, I think I went through all of them at one point with headphones. Like just like it was great to run, and because you get that motivation, and whether you like David Goggins or not, when he's yelling in your ear about being tough, it makes it easier to get through your run.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, that's interesting. So you started off with 6 miles, but here's the weird thing: it seems like you enjoy it.
Yeah. So I think for me, it started out as more of a fitness journey, and like how can I push myself physically, and it is still that for me. But now I think it's more of I fell in love with the sport of running versus I'm doing it to achieve more fitness-based goals. Now the endorphins get going, I'm running, and it used to be like, how do I get through the 6 miles? Now I'm like, now it's only 6 miles sometimes, and now it's how do I get through 20 miles or hopefully even more in the next couple months.
So that's the thing, you've kind of picked up running, and you're even now going to attempt an ultra marathon.
Correct.
And it's coming up. But as you've been building through that, how have you found yourself like wanting to challenge yourself to an ultra marathon, and what's led up to this at this point, like what races and distances?
Yeah, so I've up to this point I've done a marathon a couple of years ago, and that's been my longest race so far. And when I started this journey, if you had asked me 5 years ago if I would have ever ran a marathon, I would have said absolutely not. And then I got to the point where I started increasing those distances from those 6 miles I started with, and started being like, oh, can I do a marathon? And I started training a little bit more, and I realized, oh, I'm actually halfway decent at this sport. And so at the time, this was 2 years ago now, I was like, let me go out and run a marathon. And I'd set pretty high standards and goals for myself, and I was trying to break that, coveted 3-hour mark, and came out, and looking back at it, like I probably didn't train the best, and I was one of those stubborn runners who didn't believe in fueling at the time. I was like, I can do it without water, without the gels.
You changed your mind.
I have changed, okay. Dramatically in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
but at that time, I was very stubborn, didn't achieve those goals. But just to be able to run the marathon was something.
Coming out of the gate and wanting to do a sub-3 is tough. But I think for a lot of people, there's a learning period in marathon where if you're a fast guy and you're like, hey, I can run this, and even up to a half marathon, I think you can kind of cheat it. Right. Like you can run a hard pace. It's the marathon that tends to break people towards the end. Did you go out too fast?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I started at like a 6:35-ish pace, and
where'd you end? What was your last mile?
Probably like 9 minutes.
It was. That's not horrible.
Yeah, no, it was just like I said, like too fast, too soon, and I was in that mindset of I don't have to fuel, I don't have to hydrate, and it just burned me out. I was on pace for the first half, and then that second half I hit a wall around mile 18, and then for me, once I knew I wasn't going to achieve my time, then it was kind of like more of a mental head game, and
a death march.
Yeah, the one time in the race I did fuel was I passed a table. It was going through a random neighborhood in Virginia, and these guys had a table full of beers out. And I said, I haven't made my time. Let me grab one of these beers.
Got some carbs in.
That actually gave me some fuel. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously you're training for an ultra now. Which ultra are you doing?
So it's the UTMB 45 miler in Tenerife, Spain.
Okay.
So
have you looked at the elevation?
So yeah, it's about 10,000 feet of elevation gain throughout the race. So first experience. So that's going to be now a whole nother challenge of.
Have you been studying on your fueling for that?
Yeah, fueling and just kind of more pacing strategies too, as far as
getting through it.
You can't go out the gate fast. And
it's on trails, right?
Right. Yeah. It's on trails.
Trails are different.
Yeah.
It's not a set it and forget it pace.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know it's going to change throughout the race, and the paces depend on the elevation. And the other good thing is the reason I end up signing up for this race is there's a group of friends that we all kind of decide together, like
Here in Baltimore?
Here in Baltimore, yeah. So
who are the suspects? Because I have an idea. I know.
Jojo Chang, Ace.
Ace is going to be doing it.
Ace will be doing it. He's only doing the 30 miler. But,
he's doing the 50K.
Yeah, so I think Miles Cohen's going to run with us as well. So, yeah, we have a good group, and I'm not sure if you know JoJo. She kind of bullied most of us into
I think I've seen her in Ace's videos.
Yeah.
So she looks like she's having fun with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So she bullied the group of us to run together.
Yeah. So you have a low key accent. Where are we from originally?
So I'm from Delaware.
Okay. I didn't know Delaware
I do get that.
I do.
Yeah. Well, that's how I get that a lot, and everyone thinks that I'm from the South.
Yeah,
or whatever, just because of the accent
a
little bit, but. From Delaware originally, so not too far from here.
So how did you end up not only getting into obviously running came from COVID, but you were here in Baltimore.
Yeah.
You're working with the Ravens. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I think it's just kind of right time in right place, and I have a good solid background. I did my undergraduate education at the University of Delaware in athletic training.
Is that the Blue Hens?
The Fighting Blue Hens,
right, there we go.
in my undergrad program, I did a NFL internship with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow.
For 2 summer training camps. So made some connections there, and then after undergrad, I ended up going to physical therapy school at the University of Delaware too, where I had a great experience being able to work with Indiana Pacers in the NBA for a clinical internship. So it was actually a bizarre transition. Right after I finished PT school in 2019, 4 days after I graduated physical therapy school, I got a job offer in Minnesota with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
This is crazy. Like most kids, I wouldn't be like, oh, you're going to be fine. You'll get in with Reggie Miller, go over to the Buffalo Bills, and then end up at the Timberwolves. That's a pretty exciting little journey there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very unexpected. Like I just graduated physical therapy school. I got a phone call at, I think it was around 2 p.m. in the afternoon saying, hey, I had interviewed with the Timberwolves a couple of weeks prior, and they said, hey, we want you to come join our staff. We actually play in Philly tonight. Can you drive up from Delaware to Philly and fly back with us? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Let me go to Walmart real quick and get a suitcase so I can pack some stuff, and then drove up to Philly and then moved to Minnesota for a couple of months. And
what do you think it was? Because I'm sure there's people that have been working in PT and all this stuff for a long time that like their dream job would be go to a sports team like that. And you just get plucked out of Delaware.
Yeah, I mean, they have amazing programs with athletic training and physical therapy, and then just having those connections I made through internships, and like internships are basically like interviews, and so I guess I proved myself pretty decently there and was able to set myself up for future opportunities.
And you talked about the Pacers. Is Reggie Miller still involved down there, right? Is he part?
He wasn't around when I was there.
Okay.
Larry Bird was very much heavily involved around there.
Okay, so you met at least one of the goats.
Yeah.
All right, and then obviously I got to ask, because we've been watching on, I guess, HBO, the Hard Knocks with Buffalo Bills. When you watch that and you see the stuff going on, is that seem pretty realistic?
I can be completely honest with you. I haven't really watched any of the HBO because I guess I see it firsthand every single day. So, when I'm away from football at work, I'm like, let me stay away from football, and I'll try watching other things on TV.
So are you starstruck at all by some of the players? Like, is there any players that you meet that you're like, oh, this is great? Or are you just so into the thing that you're just there like a car mechanic? It's like one car after another.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it like car mechanic, but no, I think you just get to the point where you realize like these athletes, they're human beings too, and like you got to treat them like human beings. And some guys are like the class clowns in high school. Some guys are more outgoing. Some guys are very shy and quiet, and you kind of just to get to know them more as people versus athletes, and which is really cool because everyone sees them on TV and kind of just views them as stars.
Yeah.
And you get to learn a little bit more about their personal lives, who they are, where they come from, their families, and I think that's the cool thing about working in sports is you just get such a diverse background of people that are from players, coaches, other staff, and coming from all parts of the country, and so it's really cool to get to know people on that level. And at the end of the day, they are the highest athletes in the world, so working with them, it kind of pushes me from a personal standpoint to how can I be better in my running journey or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, we're regular sized people.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing Jonathan Ogden one time at a pool table, and he was smoking a cigar. And he's not a normal sized person. No. I'm sure some of the guys that you're dealing with, they're giants.
Yeah, so those guys can be massive. Those linemen are huge dudes, and
but I don't think you notice it until you stand next to them.
Yeah, no, it's funny, being around them, you kind of get used to it, and then you go out into like the normal public or whatever, go to the gym or whatever, and see the average citizen lifting, and you're like, wow, these guys are crazy strong, crazy fast.
Speaking of that, so now, do any of them know that you're running? Like, do they ask personal questions about what you're doing to stay in shape?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a handful of guys that every single day ask me how far I ran, and I have one guy in particular. He thinks he's pretty good at guessing my paces. So I'll tell him every single day I ran 4 miles today or 7 miles today, and he tries guessing to the exact minute my pace. And sometimes he's close, sometimes he's far
Have you gotten
off.
any of the guys to take an interest in running, or is it pretty much they have enough on their plate?
No, I mean, those guys are, when I tell them how much I run, it's funny because, again, some of the best athletes in the world, I tell them I run even 4 miles, they might say, I could never run anything more than
Isn't that crazy?
a mile, which is insane. To them, anything over 200 meters is the longest run in the world.
They got to realize they don't have to do like the full on sprint.
Right, exactly. And sometimes I don't think they realize that, but it is funny. Like they can sprint all day, whereas I would not enjoy that.
Like repeats.
Right, exactly. And but when it comes to distance, they're like, nah, we'll leave that to you.
All right. So you now with the Ravens, is it one of those jobs that like once you embed with a team, you're pretty solid there? Like, is it you just have to kind of almost like a player try out every year?
I would not necessarily try out, but you always have to put your best foot forward just to make sure you're staying on top of the job that you're supposed to be doing, so that way you can kind of keep doing that. And I wouldn't say it's always the most stable environment to be in, but I think from our standpoint, we do our best to control what we can control, and do our best to get the guys back out in the field and be available for games, so we can help the team, the organization, put the best product out for the organization and for the fans.
All right, and in general, there's all types of injuries in football. They're usually collision oriented and that kind of physical style of injury. Right. But in running, there's overuse injury and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. How much does your job and what you do help you prepare for setbacks in running, or even if you're dealing with like a friend like Miles or somebody who gets injured, how much does that training help?
I think it actually helps very tremendously, especially the physical therapy aspect. When injuries do occur, kind of having that background of knowing how to treat the injuries or how to tailor or alter your run-in plans is important. Then there's also the sports science aspect of it. With our athletes, they wear GPS sensors every practice, every game. So we can track, top speeds, how many yards they're running, acceleration, deceleration, things like that. And so having that background, I've actually had a lot of conversations with my friends in the running community, and obviously now these watches are getting really smart, and so there's a lot of statistics on there that I think a lot of people don't understand
or don't use.
That don't use. And the big one that I've kind of educated some people on is the acute to chronic workload ratio.
Is that the little fatigue where your little emoji starts putting his hands on his knees?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that, but it's a number basically showing how much you've run acutely in the past week compared to over the past several weeks. And it's funny, almost every friend that I've seen that has some of these overuse injuries, their ratio spikes because they have a setback and then they try running too much too quickly. And it's pretty fascinating how accurate that science can be sometimes, of being like, and it's easier said than done, because
the 10% rule, right?
Basically that, and a little bit more scientific
It
version.
was strange. This week I actually went, so I've been traveling a lot,
right? And
I came back, and my coach, I'm getting ready for Chicago. My coach jumped me up, and it was basically double my mileage. And he knows what he's doing, but I was like, I know about the 10% rule,
right? Yeah, and again, it's easy to say, like, tell a runner, hey, scale it back, but I think we are some of the most stubborn people on this earth. And when we have an injury, we're like, all right, let's just fight through it. If we run 2 miles, we'll warm up and it'll feel great. And that's not always the case.
But I think it's two parts. And we live in a city, and so there's a social aspect to running, a community part. And when you're not part of the group, it can feel isolating. Like if you're like, okay, I'm injured now, got to take it easy. But then you see Ace and Miles and JoJo out on the, in the videos doing their thing. You're kind of like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a huge part of it, is being that social aspect of running. And I think I got to a point a couple of years ago where, my running journey was mostly solo to start. And then probably a year and a half ago, I started going to some of the run clubs around the city. And I mean, Baltimore's a phenomenal city right now with all the run clubs popping up. And so I started going to those and making friends through the run clubs. And so I think it just adds such a great environment to the running journey. And so it is definitely hard to, if you have an injury or something like that, you're not running, you see all your friends running, it's like, oh, I need to be part of that.
Yeah. And you feel foolish if it's kind of like going back to school after you've graduated. Right. If you can't run, you can't show up.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Just hang out.
Yeah.
But, that's crazy. And then the other part is, it is now with the pressure, I think there is social media and stuff like that. And you see people out there doing stuff. When I first started running, not a lot of people did ultras just because you didn't see it. Now you see so many people doing it. You see people like Matt Choi out there, like running the whole, Korea. You see that stuff and you're like, oh, maybe I could do that. And you read a book like you read and you're like, maybe that's something I could do.
Right.
So there's just so many forces coming into running right now, and it's so popular that I would guess that you are like, you don't deal with it because you're dealing with the Ravens, but your friends, you're probably seeing people getting injured by just doing too much too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And like being a physical therapist, your friends always naturally gravitate towards you, and they ask you, hey, what's wrong? And what do you think about this injury? What should I do about this? And, typically they give you is it the shoe? Should I just change the shoe? And it's like, well, let's look at, how you're moving and kind of maybe some muscular imbalances that you might have. And, I'll have them pull up their watch and show me some of the stats that they've been, that Garmin will populate for them, and kind of try to give them like a full kind of evaluation.
Dang, you could probably charge for that.
I don't, but so just trying to look at the whole picture and see what they can change a little bit to kind of hopefully get rid of some of those injuries. And I think having that background has just been very helpful for me. I haven't encountered too many injuries in my running journey, and I think part of that is being able to have some of that background. And I'll structure my lifts. And
I was gonna say you must lift.
Yeah, and I'll do like lifts just to like a normal lift, but I also do very running specific lifts as well that will kind of target those like chronic overuse injuries, the tendinopathies, incorporate some plyometric activity, and just target very specific things that hopefully will load the tendons and things like that, so you're not dealing with those issues down the line.
I'm a believer now. For a long time, I didn't do any weightlifting. I just was like, I'll just run. I'll do some body weight stuff.
Right.
And I started doing actual weightlifting, and everything's changed. I feel like it's an important part for runners. I hate to use the word hybrid athlete because I think it has kind of like a negative connotation to some runners. But I do think that the best thing you can do to avoid injury is to lift. Yeah,
I agree 100% with that. And it's funny, actually, a couple of years ago, when I started my running journey, after a year or so, I kind of stopped lifting, kind of same to you. I stopped lifting for about a year and a half or 2 years. And then I got to the point where my legs were just feeling completely heavy. And I was like, oh, I just need to stretch more. So I would stretch and I'd feel better for like 15 minutes. And I did that for about a week, and I was like, you know what? Let me just lift really quick. Lifted legs and immediately felt better.
What is that? Because that's the first thing I noticed. Is I haven't gotten faster, but like I used to, if I did a long run or something, my legs would be shot. I'd be walking the dog in the afternoon, and they just didn't feel right. Maybe I had even like a little limp or something like that. That once I went to sleep, I'd wake up and it'd be fine. But with lifting, I felt like that went away. And like I just feel more solid.
Yeah, I think you're able to usually generate a little bit more power, especially when you have high repetition. So just having that muscular base, but then also, I think the big thing is you start training some like imbalances that you might have, whether it's in the hips, the quads, hamstrings. So when you develop that strength, you're taking some of the kind of load off the muscles, the tendons, the joints, and things like that. So just kind of building that base to kind of help you run a little bit further.
All right. We talked about runners kind of maybe getting in denial when they should take time off and let an injury heal. but they're not losing a contract or anything if they stop running. How tough is it to get somebody whose career, a football player or something, when they have an injury, to like settle down and to wait it out?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question actually. These for the players that we're dealing with when they have an injury, obviously they're highly motivated athletes based on their contracts, but also, they're at the highest level. They want to win. They want to perform for their teammates, for their families, for themselves. So just depending on the injury, I think we just really push the education aspect for them of what are they dealing with, what's the best approach to handle this injury or situation, and how can we best get them back not only as quickly as possible, but as safely as possible to prevent any further injuries or a re-injury. So, it's going to be different for every athlete, every situation, depending on if they can go out there without the risk of further injury versus if we put them out there, there might be a small or even higher risk of re-injury.
Do they listen to you, though?
For the most part, they do.
Right.
Sometimes guys can be a little stubborn, but we appreciate those guys that do push themselves a little bit more. And we've gotten a little bit more objective with testing. We have a bunch of fancy equipment that can test force output with different muscles, so we can kind of make sure that they're in a safe range before they start returning or hit certain benchmarks before they return to the field or practice.
So you almost have like a clearance that you get to say, hey, yeah, they can go back out there.
Yeah. And then, cool. We'll gradually incorporate them back into practice. So it's a kind of a little bit of a graded exposure. Kind of, if it was a runner, instead of just, if they're training for a marathon, they encounter an injury, instead of telling them, all right, go run 18 miles, and go run 2 and then 6 and then 8. We do the same thing with our athletes. They just go into 1 or 2 parts of practice, and then the next day we'll increase that a little bit, and then until they're fully back in practicing. So kind of similar concepts that we see in the NFL versus the typical runner, to kind of gradually expose them back into activity.
All right, maybe you can help me out because I'm not that bright. And, I used to see like a football player take a hit or something that looked horrible. And then he goes off and you put him in the blue tent. And then he pops back out full of energy and stuff like that. And so I've always thought there must be some miracle drug that you pump into them when they come out.
No, I don't. No miracle drugs. That always makes me think back. Growing up, I was a soccer fan, and they had the magic spray, and they would just spray it, and the guy would pop up and be fine. But no, sometimes these guys just take hard hits, and they have like a transient loss of either strength or a feeling in their arms or something like that, and after a couple of minutes it'll resolve. Or sometimes they have more legitimate injuries, and we're able to either put a brace or a wrap on them, and they are tough guys, so they're able to just get out there, and the adrenaline is rushing.
So there's nothing I could use during a marathon that you'd be like, here, take this shot, you'll be fine?
No, I don't think so. I wish there was, because I would probably be taking it too. I would be trying to dominate all the marathons or races or whatever. So, I wish there was something a little bit more fancy. But
so in this time, you've obviously got the physical knowledge of like how to take care of your body and get through running, and you're helping people in your group with the same advice and stuff. But what are some of the things that you didn't anticipate about running that have influenced how you do your job?
Say that again.
I'm saying, what are some of the things, like obviously you know how to fix the injuries and you can do that stuff, but there's things that you're learning through running that maybe are changing your mind about stuff. Like is there anything that you've taken from running and then brought back to your work life as something that would help somebody get through stuff?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different aspects. One, I think for me, running is just like such a stress relief. Like when times are tough or like I have long days, running's just the way I relieve stress. So with dealing with some of these athletes, especially when they're going through injuries, especially long-term rehabs, kind of talking to the guys about finding their way to relieve stress or decompress, and obviously it might not be running for these guys, especially if they're injured, but finding that like outlet that you can kind of use to decompress, de-stress, and that's kind of the big thing for me is, again, like I said, running started as a fitness, like let me just hit these fitness goals or challenges, but now it's like my mental health thing. And so I think that's a huge part that is getting a little bit more exposure in just sports in general, is the mental health aspect, and which is a very important aspect. Like I said,
it's another thing that when you get injured and stuff, you're taking away the support system.
Right, exactly. And like we talked about earlier, we view all these guys as stars, but at the end of the day, they're normal people going through stuff in their personal lives and things that we might not see just based on what they show on ESPN or on Instagram. So I think that's important to, look at that aspect, the mental health aspect, and, have these guys find their outlets, whether it's, it might be faith, it might be music, it might be
meditation,
exactly.
cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, again, most of these guys aren't doing distance running, but whatever that may be for them.
I wonder, your influence might get them after their career to give it a shot.
Yeah.
We've got a couple like Lo Johnson, who's local. He's an ex-NFL player.
Okay.
He's attempted to be the first to finish the 6-star. Berlin got him because it was 80 degrees and just a bad day. But he'll go back. But to bring it back to the stress relief, obviously your job has a lot of stress because you have only one day a week where it really matters as far as like it's going on the record. Right now, Ravens are struggling a little bit. You obviously feel the tension of the team. You feel the stress of everybody around you. When you get off that plane, are you like immediately lacing up, or like how fast after a game are you?
I've definitely done that before. Last year when we lost our playoff game in Buffalo, I think we landed around 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe right before 4 o'clock in the morning. I was just kind of, in a weird headspace, and I think got home around 4:30. It was snowing. I just went out and did a couple miles, and let me just, get out there and, decompress a little bit. And
that's a weird hour because it's too late to go back to bed and too early to really start the day.
Right. Yeah. And even this past weekend, we were in Kansas City and got home this morning around 12:15ish, 12:30. Went home, slept for a couple hours, and was up at 6:30ish, and went out for did a little lap and got a couple miles in, and so I'm usually pretty consistent with I'm a morning runner.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to get it out of the way with, and so usually get up first thing and go for a run, and usually it's because we start our days relatively early most days, and I'm up at 4:30, and one of the lonely runners in Baltimore at that time.
Today I was out there at 4:30.
Okay, gotcha.
But it was rare. I'm still not recovered from my trip.
Yeah.
So my time zone's off. But one of my favorite things is when I travel in new cities is to see it by running. Mm-hmm. And you're doing a lot of traveling with the team. Are you exploring those cities?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another cool thing about, working with the Ravens, the NFL, and traveling with the team as well, going to 8-9 different cities every single year. And I'm the same way with you, is trying to explore those cities just by running. Every city we go in, whenever we get to the hotel, I usually pull out my phone and I just use handy old Google Maps and try finding out.
No Strava heat maps?
I don't, just because sometimes our hotel is kind of not anywhere where it's close to the Strava maps, and I usually tend to having a sidewalk to run on, so I'll try to find somewhere where I can run along the sidewalk so I'm not on a long road or highway. And if there's water in that place, I'll just run along the river water, kind of like we have here in Baltimore. But it's been a great way to see cities. A lot of friends ask, where's your favorite place to travel to? And I think for, a lot of people give the answers based on food or, scenery around. And for me, it's what's been the coolest place to run at. And,
what would that be?
I would go Denver's been really cool to run in. They have a river that you can run miles and miles along, and it's just really cool view.
And you're not getting that altitude when you hit there?
I honestly didn't feel it too bad.
Oh, that's great,
Which, yeah, maybe I was just so tired I didn't realize it. But the other one was when we played in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, we stayed like 30 minutes outside the city in Lake Las Vegas. And that was really cool, running in the mountains. And like I would run right before sunrise, and then and you'd see the sunrise and in the mountains and the desert, and that was such a cool view. Terrible elevation gain because my quads were cooked running there, but from a view standpoint, it was gorgeous. So,
are you getting other people from? Is there anybody else on the team that runs?
No. They're like
so these
staff
are just
members.
solo ones?
Yeah, solo runs, and just kind of explore the city and see different things. And
for me, it's like I like collecting the Strava maps, because then later, like, you look at the expanded view of all the places that you run, and stuff like that. So I don't know if you're like that, but
no, I have the Strava app, and so it is cool, like seeing all the places you run, and especially sometimes I did this yesterday in Kansas City. We stayed at a different hotel, but I really liked the route I ran last year when we were in Kansas City. So I pulled up my Strava map and was like, "Wait, let me map out where." Yeah, so I ran 4 miles down to this. I think it's a creek technically in Kansas City, and then just ran along the creek, and it had this paved path, and so it was just beautiful. I mean, it was actually a little hot there, hot and humid, but beautiful run, and got in a little half marathon yesterday morning. So it's a cool way to explore cities.
Typically, when you go on these trips, like, how long is a stay at a city? Like, when you go to Kansas City, are you flying in that night before and leaving the next?
So we typically fly in the day before the game. So we'll usually leave Baltimore around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then unless it's a West Coast trip, then we'll leave usually 2 days before, and then we fly back immediately after the game. So we finished up our game yesterday around 6:30 Central Time. We're on the plane by probably 8:30ish, and we're back here by midnight. So it's a quick turnaround. You don't get to do a crazy.
I'm sure some of those
there.
plane rides are fun. Some of them are not so fun.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's just it's just part of the environment you work in, and so.
I typically, like, one of my favorite routes for a long run in this city, and we don't live that far apart, I don't think, because I see you usually, like, right coming from Canton, like coming into the waterfront park there.
Yeah, and I live right by Patterson, so.
Okay. So from when I'm doing like a 20 mile, one of my routes is I follow the water around, go up to the stadium, and go around the stadium, and then up to Fort McHenry and stuff like that. But the stadium always, it's always fun to go up there, especially when they had the Ray Lewis statue out front. You could touch the toe when you ran by. But would that be stressful for you because it's work, or would that be, like, for me, it's like, there's the home of the Ravens. This is fun.
Yeah. I've actually never ran around or anywhere near the stadium, which is actually funny to think about. And it's funny, too, because so most of our time we're up at our practice facility up in Owens Mills. But that's another reason I love running the city, because I'm like, when I'm not at work, like, get me away from work.
Yeah.
And so I can kind of run separately and keep that a little bit
it's
differently.
Like personal
but
thing.
Yeah, so but yeah, I just and not even from the work standpoint, I just haven't really run by the Ravens Stadium, because it's funny, I kind of run a similar route though, just along the water, and end up in Fort McHenry.
Yeah.
But yeah, never really ventured out towards the stadium.
Yeah, you get a nice run up Ford Avenue that way, so you get a little hill work in,
right,
and everything like that. But so what is it that you're most excited about with this upcoming ultra, and is there anything after that planned, or is this the big goal?
Yeah, so it's actually and I'm glad I've had some friends that have motivated me a little bit more over the past year or so, because I haven't done too many races. I usually have just ran just to run for my personal enjoyment.
Is it hard with the football schedule?
Yeah, it's, I mean,
because pretty much August,
from middle of July till, I mean, every year we hope it's February, but it's usually middle of January, end of January over the past couple of years. I work every single day, and there's minimal availability to actually participate in a
When you say
race.
every day, we're talking weekends, like whenever most
Monday
people,
through Sunday. Yeah. And it's when I trained for my marathon a couple of years ago. I was doing my long runs on Saturday morning, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get it done by like 6 o'clock. So yeah, it's hard to train, but I do have some goals over the next year. So I'm going to hopefully do a marathon, and I have to figure out which one right after the season in probably February.
Okay, so there's spring ones in March and April.
So I'm looking around those timelines, because then the ultra is in March, end of March, and then
so you want to get in before then.
yeah, and then now we're talking about doing a half Ironman as well in the summer.
There's a I'll tell you about that. Yeah. But there's a Donna Marathon in Florida.
Okay.
That's in February.
Okay.
So that might be a good like pre one. Plus, it can be, the weather can be like in between. You can either get 50s or you can get 60s, 70s, and then you're running in Spain. It's probably gonna be warm.
Yeah. No, the Spain one. I think we looked up the temperatures. It's going to be in the mid 60s or low 70s, and I mean, looking at those lists, this is my first ultra, so I'm trying to be best prepared.
So you picked one far, far away.
Yeah, and it's good since we're going with a group of people. We're making a little vacation out of it, and I think there's a lot of wineries, restaurants, and things like that on this island.
The food will be sick.
Yeah, so we're going to do that, and I think maybe we're talking about going to Morocco afterwards, just as the group, and just kind of explore. And so
I can see the content already.
Yeah, which is funny because I'm not the biggest social media presence, but then some of the friends in the group are huge in social media, so it's been fun like collaborating with them. And
well, it's fun to follow along. Like I see you guys online, and I follow Ace and Miles and everybody, so I see some of the stuff going on. I'll be like, all right, I see. There's Chris doing a 20-mile run with Ace.
Yeah.
So
no, it's been good. So yeah, that trip to Spain will be good, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be scary figuring out, like, they have the UTMB races have the whole list of things you need to carry on your run. I'm like, how do you do all this?
Okay. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because you could be the one who gets his bag checked and then screwed. But when we just did one, we did the ETC in Italy there, and we had a whole list of stuff. So I was like, crap, I didn't pack any of this stuff. So we had someone go into the village and get all the stuff together for us, space blanket, all the things that you're supposed to have.
Right.
Nobody checked my pack. Nobody looked at it.
Right.
I mean, here, look, the ETC, that was only I think we did, it was supposed to be 20K, but it's really a 15K, but they call it 20K because of how much elevation it had.
Right.
But, so maybe that's different than 45 miles, but yeah.
Yeah, it would be the worst to get the DNF because you didn't pack the bag properly.
Do you know what bag you're going to wear?
No idea. I started looking at a couple different options, so I got to look at it a little bit more seriously.
I'll throw one out there you got to check out. It's a new company called Tantrums.
Okay.
And it's specifically, they designed their bag for Western states, I believe. And the reason why it's hotter out there. Okay. And a lot of the packs are really warm. So if you're going to a warm race, the Tantrums would probably be the one that you want to go with.
Gotcha.
So check that out. And do you have poles?
I don't have any now, but that's one thing. A couple people have been like, bring ski poles, don't be a hero. And
I'm telling you.
They said your quads will be on fire.
Quads, but it's more your lower back. Like I find myself, if I'm going uphill and you start hunching over to get up the hill and you don't have the sticks to help keep you upright, by the end of the day, man, your back is just killing you. Okay, some people can power through with their knees. Yeah. But those guys are usually guys and women who can do that really well. They're like your front of the pack people. Right, yeah. So,
I was watching you guys were there at the Western States, and I was following along with that and had it on the YouTube channel. I was watching those guys and gals, and it was incredible to see what they were doing out there.
Yeah, and that was a really hot race. Mm-hmm. Like, it starts off cold, but it gets...
Yeah, I think it was in the 90s at that point.
I was spectating, and I was like, I'm too hot.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how these guys are running.
Yeah.
But, it's impressive. I think you'll probably get hooked. Which isn't the worst thing.
That's what everyone says. Once you run your first one, you're going to want to do one like every single year, and which I'm okay with, especially if we keep doing these ones where we find cool spots to go to and make a little vacation out of it. And
And I highly recommend it. Yeah, if you can do UTMB and Chamonix.
Okay.
But let me think. For your schedule, that could be gnarly because it would be right when the season's starting.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's always hard, like trying to pick out races based on the schedule. And,
Yeah.
You know, I have friends running in Chicago, New York, and it's like, oh, I'd love to do one of those. But
Are the Ravens doing any kind of London games anytime? Like, do you know, like advanced, like?
no, we honestly don't find out till they release the schedule.
Okay.
And I think that's it, early May.
So you wouldn't know if that's happening.
Yeah, no.
All right. It'd be fun if they do one of the away games like to South America or London.
Oh yeah, we went to London actually a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, I believe, and it was a good experience. We were there for a week. It was a little weird. We were probably about an hour outside of London is where our hotel was, which was a little bit different because, you know, you think you're going to London, you're going to be in the city, and it's an hour taxi ride there, and it's like you only have a couple free hours, so it's like you spend 2 hours there and back in a taxi, and you're only able to be in the city for an hour or
That
two.
doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it's like saying you're going to Baltimore and you end up in, I'm trying to think, Westminster.
Yeah.
Like,
Or going to New York and you end up in Baltimore.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, yeah. So, no, but it was a cool experience, and again, I was running in London, and a little jury weather there, but so I wouldn't say the best running scene, at least where we were, but it was cool to just run somewhere
I
different.
mean, were you like out in the countryside? Did it just feel like?
Yeah, it was very much like kind of countryside, like.
Because running in London is awesome.
Yeah, no, we were nowhere near that type of environment.
First time I was there, I was like, "Oh, Big Ben."
Yeah.
Running around just like a family vacation.
Right.
But it was pretty awesome. But yeah, you'll have to go back.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe.
I mean,
actually run around.
I'm trying to think because we've run the London Marathon when it's been in the spring. We ran it when it was in the fall. I guess it's back to being in the spring. So you would do like April. You might be able to hit London up. You should see if you can pull some strings and get yourself a bib. That one now, the amount of people entering it is like over 3 million. Like it's really getting tough to
running's
to
blown.
get in.
I just saw they released the Boston or people that qualify for Boston, I think earlier this week, and it's the cutoff time just keeps getting lower.
How old are you?
32.
Yeah, you probably still have to run a sub 3 to
It's 2:55.
250. Yeah. So you really have to run like a 250.
Yeah, exactly. Which is moving.
It's rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like when I first started. I felt like the times were reasonable.
Right.
Now I'm like looking at it and be like, I don't even know if I would have shot for it. But
yeah, and when I was running a couple of years ago, it was 3 hours. So that's why I was like, all right, this seems achievable. And now I'm like, all right, this is getting a little bit
like
lower and lower.
You'd have to really.
Yeah, and once I hit 30, I'm like, I'm getting old, and like so now like every year now I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes a lot to keep up with that pace.
What I kept thinking was, as I get older, it'll be easier because the times get
right.
But they're smart enough that it is harder to run those times.
Yeah.
You get old.
Yeah, you think in 5 years from now you'll be able to keep up the same pace.
Yeah, I was like, but I'll definitely be able to hit that.
I've had that thought too. I'm like,
and then
right.
they keep lowering. As a matter of fact, my time that I'd have to run now was the time that I had to run when I was like 38.
Oh, wow. So they've dropped it a decent amount. Yeah.
And now I'm 54. So, it's like that was,
Yeah, I've done that a couple times too. I'm like, all right, maybe when I'm 60, I can hit that. I think it's like 30 hours, 30 minutes.
In a little bit, we'll be all right. It'll be like a 350.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, man, it's rough. All of them are blowing up. Like just getting into some of the majors. There's so many people who want to do it now that the numbers are growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually, I didn't realize this when the schedule came out for this year, but our bye week is the week of the Baltimore Running Festival. So actually, I might just go out and support some of my friends and just watch and just see like.
Not jump into the half or anything?
I've thought about it. I'm toying with it still, but probably, I haven't really trained enough for it, but I might just go out and support and just see the environment that they have in Baltimore.
It's a good weekend for Baltimore. Like
Yeah.
anytime you can do something positive in the city, it's a lot of fun. And the way that they have the finish now, where it ends, it pretty much ends right at that intersection by the Inner Harbor,
Right.
And then by the Science Center, people are drinking beers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's a good day, especially if it's a nice sunny day.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for me, if I were to run that competition, is I think it's right around mile 14 or 15. I run right by my house.
Oh yeah.
It would take a lot in me not to just, all right, I'm going to go take a nap real quick and take a pause on this marathon. And
it does hit like Patterson Park. If you're running the half,
yeah.
that's probably like mile 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah.
That you'd hit right around there.
Yes, I live
May
right
not even be
there.
that
So
much,
so I might be tempted to just
that
go
actually,
home real quick.
That happened to me. I was doing the relay, and I was like, I'll run all 4 legs with the team that I was running with. I was just like, why not? And I was going right near where you're talking about, and I realized, now I'd be going up into the what's it called, the hills, basically, past Hopkins. And I was just like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But I had to run back to the start, so I still ended up getting quite a good day of running in. But it's if you're not motivated, it's hard to keep going.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone that I know is running. It's like it's hilly, which is funny because I run along the water every single day. I'm like, this is perfect. It's so flat. It's really nice. But then apparently marathons.
I do the same thing.
hilly.
I could go run towards Patterson Park and do the hills there, or I could go run along the water. And often I'm just like, I don't feel like dealing with it today.
Yeah,
just want that nice, easy cruise control.
I'm with you 100% on that.
And it changes. Like people are like, don't you get bored? But the way that the light hits the water and the sun comes up, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I get bored there.
Once you get near the bakery, get the smell of breads and stuff like that, you're like, all right, this smells great. It
not
motivates
bad.
you to run a little bit more.
And or to run home so you can have breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, man. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you coming in and taking the time to stop in, especially after you had a game last night.
Yeah.
To pop off the plane, come in here and talk to me. You probably have to go back into the office after this. Or do you get a day off?
Fortunately not. Well, I was in earlier today.
Oh,
We were
okay.
in. I got off at like 2. So, appreciate you having me on here.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, take care of our boys, and let's hope that our record gets a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll keep open.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna tuck run, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop.